And welcome back to Healthy Minds, Better Lives here on a Thursday evening at the new earlier time of 8 p.m. We're delighted to have your company. And if you've got any questions related to any of the topics on the show this evening, then get in touch. It's studio@purewestradio.com. And I'm delighted now to welcome our next guests onto the show here this evening. We've got Steve and Elvira from Paul Sartori Foundation. Good evening to you both.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for coming in and telling us all about a service which, I'll be honest, I feel a little bit like a dope for not knowing more about. Steve, I'm going to come to you first because everyone knows Paul Sartori Hospice at Home, the nurses and the practical things that can go out to houses. But you wanted to come on this evening to talk about a particular service in particular.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm the admin for the counselling team. It's it's a new role, the admin, because before it was just the counsellors. So I've been here about 7 months now, just trying to work out how they're doing what they're doing and how I can best help them. I'm the first line of sort of support. So as people ring in asking for that counselling support for bereavement or for any life-limiting illness, I'm the voice they talk to. So I will listen to what's happened. Sometimes people really want to just unload because it's just all too much. And then I'll take those details, I'll get them on our system, and then I will let the team know that we've got a new one on our waiting list and to see who's available. That's what I do. But I think being a dope, I was the same until I came in. I had no idea how much else was going on at Paul Sartori. They seem to be a great charity. They supported my dad when he was ill at home. So when I saw this come up, and because it's to do with mental health that I'm passionate about, I thought this is somewhere I'd love to go. And fortunately, they took me in. So,
and so, administrator for a counselling team. It's not just one or two, is it? There's actually a really good group of counsellors there now. Yeah,
we have 5 counsellors, and Elvira is with me now. She's our lead counsellor, so she's been doing this the longest, and she sort of guides us on what we're doing. So, yeah.
So there, and well, Elvira, thank you so much for joining us, lead counsellor of this service, which I, as I said, I feel a bit like a dope. It feels like the best kept secret that Paul Sartori have had, but you don't want to be a secret. You want to support people.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what Paul Sartori is there for. You know, we're heading for our 45th birthday next year. So the charity came into being in 1982, I think. It was created by a small group of parishioners and personal friends of Father Paul Sartori, who recognized the need to have help for people to be able to die at home. And so then he sadly became ill himself and died in 1980 at the age of 39. So really, Paul Sartori evolved out of his idea and in memory of him.
Yeah. And just as Steve said, there's people supported by Paul Sartori throughout the whole county in different ways and means. And the feedback we get, you've been our chosen charity of the year way back when Pure West Radio first launched. A lot of people have a lot of thanks for Paul Sartori and the way the service is delivered. And there'll be a group of people that have relied on your service to help come to terms with what's happening to them and their family members.
Absolutely. So the counselling service is part of the complete service. We have quite a few other aspects, which I'm happy to have a little chat about. But the counselling service is really there to support people with life-limiting illness. Now, I just want to emphasize here, when I say life-limiting, I do not mean only cancer. I mean any life-limiting illness, anything at all. And so we as counsellors, we can support the family, the friends, and the person themselves who's facing the life-limiting diagnosis and approaching their death. We support them with counselling and then smoothly hold them through the death and go into bereavement work. Yeah, obviously we can only do that with the families that we begin with before.
Yeah. And I imagine there's really, although we're all similar, no two people will go through these stages and their circumstances the same as anyone else. So as a counsellor, you have to be prepared for any circumstance, any conversation that may come your way to help bridge that gap.
Yes. So we are unique, are we not? How wonderful is that? Celebrate our difference. Yes, how people face life-limiting diagnosis and bereavement is unique to them, and there is no right or wrong. You can say that there are some overall themes that often appear in these situations, but it's not guaranteed they will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, basically, you're right. We have to be prepared for anything.
Yeah.
Anything and everything.
In fact, Steve, I'm going to bring you back in here, actually, because I've worked on a service which worked with nurses. I was the benefits man then, and we had a counsellor as well. And this was looking at men and male cancers. Paul Sartori deal with all life-limiting illnesses, not just cancer.
Yeah.
But you mentioned earlier that you're the first point of call. You'll be the one that picks up that phone.
Yeah.
And one thing we found when we worked on this service, particularly with men, because it was a men's service, is that they didn't need 6+ things of counselling. What they really needed was just to get it out of their brain in one big conversation. And we would see them the next time we were on that location. They'd be like, oh, I feel much better now. What's been your experience in your time in post so far of having those first introductory calls?
Yeah, I've literally had those. So yeah, I've just remembering now as a lady I spoke to, and so she was on the phone and we had a nice chat, and we started to do some of the sort of the basic bits of, your name, address, filling in the form. And then something snapped and the floodgates, and she said, and this, and every now and then she would stop and say, oh, oh no, you don't want to hear this. Or I said, no, that's fine. If this is what you need to say, do it. So we had about 45-minute conversation. And at the end of it, and, after she'd sort of, it all come out, I said, how are you feeling now? She said, oh, I feel great. And I said, oh, that's great. I said, oh, so shall I finish doing the form now? No, I don't think I need it now. I think you've done what I need now. She said, but if I need you again, I'll know who to call. And I thought, okay, well, that's one less to go on the list. But I did what was needed then at the time for that person. So it was a real privilege to be able to just do that and know that I was enough that day, and that was what made the difference for her. So
yeah, to be that sounding board. And of course, not everyone will feel better after unreleasing that tap and just getting it out of them. There will be people that will have sessions with you. What typically, I know typical is a horrible phrase to use here. But what are the kind of the averages and what you see as a team?
Okay, so for bereavement, we offer 12 sessions, and we can extend it depending on the situation, but we review at 12 sessions. On average, I would say about 8, but that varies.
Of course.
Yeah, it's a moving feast. As Steve said, there are people who just come in for a couple of sessions. They just want to know what's normal and what to expect and what might happen, and they want to ask me, is this normal, Elvira? I forget everything. Yes, that's normal. Get a diary, write it all down. If it's important, write it down. Some very simple things, but they come from the side in that you just don't expect. Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, well, I'm just picking up on a point there. You're like, I forget everything. Going back to my experiences, which wasn't in the counselling clinical world, it was just my observations, is that actually it was the opposite. And what people were going into once they had, and in that case, it wasn't even life-limiting. It was just a diagnosis of cancer. But all of a sudden, they remembered every little thing of their life, from when their earliest memories in school and their childhood sweethearts all the way through to when they got fired from a job, and then maybe heartbreak or children growing up, and they think, gosh, is this what my life is?
Yeah, and that is when we're looking at life-limiting illness, so somebody with a diagnosis. I was referring to when people are bereaved.
Oh, of course, yes.
Yeah, and that's a different kettle of fish. Rather, yes, I come across that in life-limiting, absolutely, that people start remembering every detail in their lives. So it's really, the importance is that at different stages, different things come. And basically, I can't predict what is going to come next. And I'm just there to be there with them in whatever is flooding their minds in that particular and flooding their hearts in that particular moment.
So what's the regularity that you see them? Is it weekly, fortnightly? What or is that arranged with the person that's in the service?
Well, yes, that's negotiated with the person in the service, because we all have different rhythms, we have different lifestyles and different needs. So it can be weekly if needed, but a lot of our work is done every other week. Some people I see monthly, and we can also start on a weekly and then move to 2 weekly, 3 weekly, 4 weekly. It's a flexible feast, and it's
great.
the biggest thing and the most important thing is that we are alongside our client and we try to match what they need.
That's wonderful. And I'm no mathematician, but you mentioned that you offer 12 sessions. If you did and you were able to cope with that monthly, that's a year of support, of a sounding board, going back to someone who can understand what you're going through. There is no expiration date on feeling grief or bereavement, but that's a really nice starting point to know you've got someone there when you need them.
I would hope so. That would be my aim.
We talked there the distinction between the person with the life-limiting illness and the person that's walking alongside them. What I keep using lots of my examples here, but you're making me reminisce about a good time on a project. But for a lot of the time, it was the person alongside the diagnosed that was feeling the most chaotic because they couldn't help. They couldn't cure it. They couldn't sort it out. And actually the patient was kind of like, well, I've got a consultant. I know what my course of treatment is. I know why they're doing it. Whereas the observer, well, that's the key word. They're observing in that state. And I suppose it's how do you manage that relationship as a couple, family, children, whatever that relationship might be. That can often be even more challenging.
Absolutely. I mean, any life-limiting diagnosis doesn't just happen to the person with the diagnosis. It happens to their friends, their family, everybody surrounding. And one of the hardest things for people who are supporting somebody with a life-limiting diagnosis is witnessing the suffering and feeling very helpless to ease their suffering. And it is so important to know for everybody who is walking alongside somebody with a life-limiting diagnosis, that just being there, just being with them, you don't need to do anything. You don't need to say anything. All you need to do is be there and give your love. And that's enough. That makes a massive difference. Massive difference. So you're not helpless. That's a huge gift.
You can provide that support by being there and being aware. If you're just joining us, it's Healthy Minds, Better Lives at a slightly earlier time. It's Tom here with Steve and Elvira from Paul Sartori Foundation talking about the counselling service that they offer. And I just want to remind people, I know we mentioned it earlier on, but for those that might be interested, what's the criteria to be introduced to the counselling service at Paul Sartori?
Okay, so you can self-refer. You need to, beg your pardon, have a life-limiting diagnosis, or you need to be bereaved. And it's basically any bereaved person in Pembrokeshire has the ability to refer themselves or get a friend or a professional to refer them into Paul Sartori.
And the first point of contact, Steve, to bring you back in will be yourself. What are the best contact details for someone to get involved, to be introduced to the service?
So we're actually getting some new leaflets sorted out at the moment. I'll have all that information in. As I said, the offices are in Haverfordwest. You can come in and see us there up at St Thomas's Green and come to reception. I've got a direct phone number that people can ring. That goes out on all the material. I've got it with me now, actually.
Whilst he's looking for that, he's just made a very good point. You've got the offices in Haverfordwest. Is that the only place that we can have this counselling?
No. So if people are able to come to us, we have some lovely rooms available to do the counselling in. However, we also work in the community, so we visit people in their own homes because, people can have mobility challenges or not have transport available. And Paul Sartori is very keen to bring access to everybody in Pembrokeshire to the services. So not only the counselling, the other services. So we go out as well as you come in as a client. We also video calls, phones, basic old phones, where there's a will, there's a way.
Fantastic. And you've got your number there now if someone wants to get in?
So the details are, so if you want to ring me directly, this is the direct work number I have is 07879 895 029. And the email address is counselling@paulsartori.org. So
Fantastic.
either of those. I just want to pick up on some Elvira was saying about the sort of the flexibility of the options that are available for counselling. So as you said, there's the different venues. There's coming in to see us, where we've got these lovely rooms that are all set up, and they're really nice and sort of they're designed to create a sort of peaceful environment. And obviously that's all a confidential, quiet space. As you said, there's the home visits, and our team go all across Pembrokeshire. So being a charity that is specifically supported for people in Pembrokeshire, everybody that we work with is going to be a friend or a neighbour or a family member of somebody everyone will know, because everything is kept in the county. And then you said there's other options. There's phone calls, as I said, which people do with me. There's also video calls, which are post-COVID, those are so common now. We've even got counsellors. We've got a counsellor who's Welsh speaking and works on a Saturday. We've got so much scope for finding a space for people who may struggle to find that space. And I think, as you were saying as well, about the different types of counselling, we've got counselling for the life-limiting illness and the bereavement, and how one follows the other. But as you said, the bereavement doesn't need to be people we've worked with previous. Anybody who maybe we just didn't know, or maybe they're new to the area, you're still eligible. If you live in Pembrokeshire, we'll give you bereavement support. If you live in Pembrokeshire and you have a life-limiting illness, we will be there for you, your friends, your family, your carers. Even cases where we've worked with that family, maybe it's an older person, they've got adult children and they're halfway around the world. We've got our team doing video calls to Spain, the USA, because they are Pembrokeshire people. They are the children of the people we've worked for, who obviously can't walk into the office, or we can't do a home visit to the USA, but we can do video calls. And as long as we pick a time that works with time zones, it's available and it's being used. So there's so little barriers to the people that we can support in terms of what they need. So
that's incredible. That remit is amazing to support those that are going through this. And it must be something that you must be really proud of, being the lead.
Absolutely. I can't believe how lucky I am. I love my job. I know that's an odd thing to say, but I do. And I'm really proud to be part of Paul Sartori, because Paul Sartori, as a charity, it is Pembrokeshire's charity. Paul Sartori only supports Pembrokeshire people. And so everybody who supports Paul Sartori invests in their neighbour, in their friends, in their family, in their community. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm forever thankful to everybody who supports Paul Sartori and makes it possible for me to have a job.
And meet incredible people.
Yeah.
That's what I found when, in my experience of my previous life, and even now in the breakfast show and meeting you here, is the resilience, the strength, the creativity, the humor, the intelligence and wit of our friends and neighbors is amazing. And in our darkest times, that's when we really get to lift a lid on who we actually are. And you get to see that in real time in your service.
Absolutely. I often call myself the keeper of stories. So I can't be the teller of stories, but I can be the keeper of stories. And I have the phenomenal privilege to hear people's stories.
It is
deeply
wonderful.
Moving, incredibly touching, and wow, what courage.
Yeah. And you mentioned there your pride for Paul Sartori. Give those that might not be aware as to the overall foundation of Paul Sartori. What other things can they offer with?
Okay, so Paul Sartori is hospice at home. So we provide clinical aids to help people move around the home and beds. So profile beds, I think they're called. Yeah, to ease the being able to look after the patient. We provide nursing care. So actually, we bring nurses into people's homes, and there is care during the day to help people shower, but also overnight respite, so that the family can have a restful night and know that there is a nurse awake, taking care of their loved one at all times. We have a complimentary therapy service with massage, reflexology, and I think there's Indian head massage, all sorts of lovely things. Yeah, and that gets rolled out to people in their homes, but people can come to Paul Sartori as well. We have, I think they refer to it as FCP now, which is future care planning. So that is putting a care plan in, it's putting down on paper your wishes, your choices about whether you want to be resuscitated, how you want your end of life to flow. Yeah. And I think I may have mentioned all of them. Steve, have I left anything out?
I'm not as this is another reason I wanted Elvira here. So because I've only been here 7 months, and like I said, I'm kind of in the counselling bubble, but because I'm in an office with other teams, I get a flavour of what's going on. But every time I think I know it all, I hear about so many other things going on, and it's just it's amazing how much there is. But
well, we have the fundraising team who do amazing events and wonderful things. You know,
if you're looking to support Paul Sartori, get in touch with that fundraising team, find out what events are going on, because there's something happening all the time. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a brilliant way. And to volunteer. And am I allowed to mention that maybe some people might just give us a direct debit?
Hey,
monthly direct debit would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, to keep supporting people with life-limiting illnesses and their families, including this wonderful counselling service that we've had the privilege of hearing all about this evening. Elvira, Steve, thank you so much for spending your time with us here on Pure West Radio to lift that lid on what you do. And remind us one more time, Steve, if someone out there is listening thinking, actually, it'd be really good to talk about what I'm going through at the moment. What are those contact details?
So contact details. I'm Steve, and it's 07879 895 029, and it's counselling@paulsartori.org. But if you look us up online, ring any number that's the Paul Sartori building, it will get through to the main office. The messages will get to me anyway. So whichever method you use, I'll find out and I'll ring you and I'll talk to you. And as Elvira said, it's a privilege. I love the job. I love talking to people, and even when people are sort of talking to me and saying, "Oh, I'm sorry," or I just say, "Well, no, I love it. I love the fact that I'm there to listen to them, and that's what I would want if I was in that situation." So, yeah.
It has been a real privilege to chat with you both this evening. Thank you so much. If you're listening to this and you want to know more and you've forgotten those details already, then use our details, studio@purewestradio.com on the email, 01437 764455 on the WhatsApp, or the Pure West Radio app. We'll get your details. We'll pass them on to Steve. Thank you both so much for your time.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. It's been a privilege.
It has.